We got two
Yes.
movies to talk about.
Where do you want to start?
We got to start with Roadhouse.
Okay.
Okay. Well, these are two very interesting movies. For me.
Polar opposites.
Jesus. All right. So this is I'm using air quotes remake.
Yes.
Of the Patrick Swayze, I think it's 1987 or 88, cheesy action classic, Roadhouse. Jake Gyllenhaal stars as a UFC fighter, and there's now it's a female owner of a bar, and it's in the Florida Keys, and it's just called The Roadhouse.
Yeah.
And she wants him to come down and bounce for it. Like, that's the plot of the fucking movie, pretty much.
Yeah. It's a very straightforward plot.
It is the definition to me of a truly good bad movie. It is a terribly shot movie.
I didn't think it was terribly shot.
There were some points where I'm like, is this someone got an iPhone and they're just shooting this movie? Mm-hmm. And like some of the editing choices were like, once again, 2024 is the year of bad editing, in my opinion.
See, I thought some of the editing choices thematically were challenging, but I thought that the editing overall was pretty good. I thought that the way that they orchestrated the fights was really interesting.
The fighting was good.
Yeah. The rest of it I found to just be kind of by the numbers.
Absolutely.
I didn't find it to be particularly impressive, but it was very functional.
Were little connections to the Swayze one. Like when he gets cut in the beginning, he gets stabbed in the side, and that's exactly where Swayze got cut when he met the female doctor for the first time. So it's, the nice little things like that. I want to know, Post Malone's agent should get fired. Because he thought, listen, dude, take your shirt off and try fighting. I was laughing so hard, I'm like, I think my daughter could beat up Post Malone. He did not look intimidating at all.
Well, like, my thing was just that he's supposed to be the most intimidating guy there.
Yeah.
And there are guys much taller, much more built, and I'm just like, I don't know.
And when I was laughing out loud when I first saw Post Malone in that movie. I'm like, are you fucking joking?
As a man who feels his titties bounce when I run, it was really funny to see his titties go when he was throwing punches.
But it's like, I mean, there have been movies where there have been street fighters that are obviously not in like great shape. But he's not only not in great shape, he doesn't look like he has any muscle tone whatsoever, even underneath, like, whatever flabbiness he might have. Well,
and then cut to Monkey Man. In Monkey Man, when we first meet Dev Patel's character, he does underground wrestling as kind of like a way to make ends meet. But he's still in decent shape. He's not in great shape, but you see him with his shirt off, and you're like, okay, he's skinny, but he's got muscle.
Yeah.
And then you see the training montage and he gets ripped and you're like, oh. So if Post Malone is really going out and taking fights every weekend, he probably wouldn't look like that.
And not only taking fights, he's doing the, whoever wants to fight me, I'll fight 10 guys in a night. And it's like, no, you don't. You would be out of breath after one guy. You are in horrible shape.
Yeah. No,
that was horrible.
I did laugh at that.
Oh, that was so bad.
When I saw that, I was like, interesting choice.
I'm very disappointed in how they treated. Okay, Kelly Lynch in the first movie was obviously just eye candy.
This is the nurse.
The nurse,
yes,
or no, she's the doctor.
Oh, she's the doctor in that one. Okay,
obviously just eye candy. And Kelly Lynch in the first movie was naked half the time, but she still was a more integral character to the story, to where I think they underwrote this character, which is Ellie, Daniela Melchior,
who's in a bunch of shit.
Yeah, they wrote her character down so fucking much.
I still thought that she had a pretty good role to play in the movie.
I mean, she had a role in the story, but if you watch the first movie compared to this, she's not in it very much. And even the love story part of it, it's like you got the cheesy sex scene in the first movie, but at least there was like some passion there. Where here they just like kiss and he has his shirt off and then she drops him off and she's like, all right, I'll see you later. And I'm like, all right.
See, I like their relationship for that reason, where it was just kind of like this weird what's going on here kind of thing, where he wasn't pursuing her, but she seemed to be pursuing him pretty heavily.
She was, but then when they have this scene and it's like, okay, there's a connection, and then it's like, all right, dropping him off.
Yeah.
See that? I was like, what the fuck is going on?
No, it's true. It's true. Well, we had to have someone jump him, or he had to get run over, or whatever the fuck happened.
Something. Oh man.
No, that sandbar scene I was taken aback by when it first happened. I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
What's happening?
It's just a little weird.
And it took me a solid minute to figure out, like, even the fact that they were on a sandbar. Like, she pulls up in the middle of the ocean, she just jumps out, and it's like, oh, I guess the water isn't that deep. Huh, okay. And then they're sitting on lawn chairs, and I was like, oh, it's a sandbar. Okay.
And then it looks like the boat's just sailing away. You're like, did you dock that? Like, did you put a anchor down? Because that thing looks like it's just going away.
But I think I like this movie more than you. I also haven't seen the original Roadhouse. We were going to go... I was calling it the Ricky Henderson last night because I was going to go for 4 and try and steal home.
Okay.
And because we had gotten the triple, I was going to try and steal home.
It's everything wrong with old action movies.
I haven't watched it literally because I can't stand Swayze's mullet. Can't stand it. Hate mullets.
He's such a beautiful man.
Hate mullets. Billy Magnuson's mullet in this was worse, but it as Ben Brandt. Because he has that look that I've seen a bunch of kids in New York have, where he has the shaved sides, but he didn't shave the back, so it's still long in the back and it goes down to his neck, and so he just has this like weird, terrible.
It was douchey.
Comb over mohawk. Every part of it just looks bad.
See, and this is the biggest separation from the two movies, and I give Jake Gyllenhaal. Like, I'll be honest, I did really like Jake Gyllenhaal. I loved Conor McGregor. I'm not gonna lie.
Conor McGregor,
he was so over the top.
Came in and showed that, like,
dude.
I saw him and I was like, Bullseye.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was Bullseye. Did anybody know he was Bullseye?
Yeah. But it's like I could see the director just going, "Be yourself," ramped up to 11.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Got it."
Do all the things.
He was so on point.
Be yourself, but with even less filters.
Oh my god! It was like he was definitely my favorite.
Like right down to the weird swaggery walk.
Oh, the swaggery walk was so good.
It was just so weird. Where
especially when
he's holding his arms out like a gorilla.
Naked.
And it's just like, what is happening?
It's so fucking awesome.
The only thing about that introduction scene that I didn't understand is why is he running away and not kicking the shit out of the husband? Because we meet him as he's leaving, having slept with somebody's wife or girlfriend or something, and you have the male has a gun and is chasing him out. I'm just like, everything we learn about this character from here on out is he would kick the shit out of that guy and go back to fucking his girlfriend. Yeah. And that's not what happens.
But see, to me, I read it as he was done having sex with her, so he's just like, well, fucking leave it. I'm going to go burn down this bazaar.
It's true. It's true.
But the big what I was getting at before, the big difference between the two movies is Patrick Swayze is the cliched, masculine, pain don't hurt is like his catchphrase in that movie. Like, he is this guy. Where Jake Gyllenhaal is a tough guy, but he's not like a masculine douchebag.
No, well, very pointedly, his character is very reserved. They compare him to a cowboy.
Yes, which I like that comparison.
There were a lot of airs of like Shane and other cowboy movies, and right down to the end where he has to leave town. And I was just like, I like this.
Which I like that better because, spoiler. In the original Roadhouse, it has a little bit of a happier ending where he sticks around and everyone welcomes him. Where this, he's like, I gotta go. And I did like that.
And they told us the entire way through. They were like, he's a cowboy. Yeah. He's here to solve the town's problem and go on. And that's what he does. He teaches the town to protect themselves with Billy and the other guy. I can't remember the other guy's name. But they...
Knox?
Reef. The other bouncer. So you have Billy and Reef are the two bouncers that he takes on. I thought one of them was going to get killed by Conor McGregor.
I thought so too.
Jake Gyllenhaal, there were a few moments. It's not a complaint or a critique. It was just one of those things of like, okay, I've used this phrase before on a lot of other things in a negative way, so I have to associate it here too. You gonna do anything about this? Where Jake Gyllenhaal has just been hired as the bouncer for this place, and people are like just getting in fights. And he's just sitting at the bar, enjoying his Mai Tai, his coffee, whatever he's having at that particular moment.
Well, see, that's one of those little connections to the first movie. Because when Swayze shows up to the Roadhouse for the first time, he orders coffee, and he sits there while everyone beats the shit out of each other because he's kind of gauging what he's getting himself into. So it's that, and you're going to see some of those mirrors when you watch the actual Roadhouse. You're going to be like, oh, okay, now, because they wanted to kind of connect it.
Yeah.
Which I kind of wish they would have, when you brought up Reef, I liked his character. They didn't
do anything with him.
All of a sudden, he's just like, oh, hey, Reef. It's like, well, who the fuck is Reef?
Who's this guy? And he's like, you want to work at the Roadhouse? And Reef's like, yeah. And
then he's just beating the shit out of people. It's like,
I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I didn't have a problem with it, but again, it's just time not spent on an interesting character that I would have liked to have seen more.
Fucking movie.
Yeah.
So, like, you could have done that.
And, like, even times where they do spend time with these characters that they don't associate hard with in terms of their backstory or what's going on with them, you'll have scenes where Reef and Billy are breaking up fights. And once again, I'm left kind of sitting there like, so what does Dalton do? Is he just the big dog that kind of sits at the back, and if things get really, really rowdy, then he'll start? But when Conor McGregor shows up and trashes the place, he's still just sitting back there like, okay, I'm going to finish my coffee. All right. Okay, if I really got to get up, I guess okay, all right. Yeah. And I was just like, dude, why are you letting this happen, man?
I don't know.
And so, like, there were a few moments like that there where similar with Ellie's relationship with him, where it's just like, oh, this is happening very fast, and I guess he's just going to let it happen. Or the crux of the story, where he is a ex-UFC fighter because he killed somebody in the ring, and they keep saying that it's his friend. They never go into any of that.
Exactly.
They never spend any time on any of that.
And if they would have, it would have made more sense of why he didn't get involved in some of those fights. Because then you're like, he thinks he'll kill somebody.
Exactly.
And he doesn't want to do it.
He knows how far he can go.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing, is that it's like he has this tiger in a cage. And for the most part, he can take care of his business, but every once in a while, he has to let the tiger out of the cage. And he doesn't like doing that. So he doesn't want to get into a situation where he has to feel like he needs to let the tiger out. Get it. Got it. Good. Why, if you're still so adept at being able to just slap the snot out of people, why are you letting some of this shit happen?
I don't get it either.
Like, they're just moments where you should be doing something.
And, like, to me, that was a major underwhelming moment when he sees the shop burn down.
Yeah.
And he says, you know, you set me off or whatever. Did they? Like, it was kind of like...
See, okay. I like that cool, like...
I liked it,
I'm
too.
Angry now. This is me angry.
But they didn't really show him that angry after that. It's like, you know, he kicked the guy out of the boat and the alligator ate him, and then he put some bombs together. And
also, where did he get those bombs?
I don't know either.
Those bombs, I think Knox had the bombs
Knox
at one
had them,
point.
but didn't he go to that house? And I think he grabbed them, but they didn't show him grabbing them.
Or like there was a transition point.
Yeah.
We saw the dynamite in someone else's possession, and then all of a sudden Dalton has the dynamite.
See, and that's what I'm talking about with some editing issues. Like I had quite a few. I don't quite remember them all, but I remember watching the movie saying, it's fucking really noticeable that it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wish they could have just tightened it up a little bit. I'm wondering once again if this is just, they knew it was going to be a direct to Amazon. Well, I think the director didn't know at first and was really kind of pissed that it went direct to Amazon. But they didn't, it seems like anything that goes direct to a streaming service, they don't really edit it down properly. Because they're like, well, it's not in a theater, so we make it as long as we
let it be.
Want.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if you needed to.
It just needed to be, the story needed to be cleaned up a little bit. Yeah. I still like this movie. I would give it a B. It's not amazing, but I agree with you. It's a fun action movie. You know, in that way of like, have a few, sit back, you're just going to enjoy it, and you're not going to worry about any of the details because the characters don't worry about the details, so how can you worry about the details?
See, I can't give it a grade. I've realized when there are movies like this that I consider terrible movies, but are still good because they're stupid fun to watch, I don't really want to grade it because I'm like, if I'm grading it just as a cinema experience as far as like technically, I would give it a low grade. But then Conor McGregor struts in, and I'm like, God damn it! I gotta give it. I can't not like this movie.
Give it a Z for zany.
Yes, and it was like there were moments that I truly loved, and there were moments where I'm like, fuck, I really don't like it. And I think once again, I'm wondering I'm wondering how you're going to look at it now that you're seeing them in opposite order. Because like the biggest complaints I've heard are from people who have watched the original and loved it for what it was. And then watch this, and we're like, I don't quite, because you get a little, honestly, you get a little more character study. I don't even want to use that word technically for a shitty 80s action movie, but you get a little more characterization in the original Roadhouse than you get in this.
See, I think that he had plenty of character.
No, I'm not talking him. I'm talking like side characters.
Oh, okay.
And like even the two in the what was it, like a bookshop?
Yeah.
In the first movie, it's the doctor's uncle who runs an auto parts store, and you get to know him a little more because he's his love interest's uncle, and so when it burns down, it's a little more important because he has more interactions with him in the movie, and you get to know the character a little more, and you know the connection a little more. To where these two people are just two people he meets when he gets off the bus.
But I like them a lot. That was the thing.
I don't dislike them.
They won my heart. So when bad things happen to them, I very much identified with Dalton, Jake Gyllenhaal's character. In the way of like, oh shit, this is now you done it. Now you gone and done it. I literally said, and I was going out of town. I was leaving. And then he has the whole, I was leaving. I was gone. And I was like, exactly.
I did like that part where he's like, why the fuck?
What the hell, man?
What are you doing?
I was going to go. And then you had to go and do something that made it so I can't leave now.
And see, they did humor right in this movie with not only Conor, but like the first fight scene he has at the Roadhouse where he beats up the guys and then he has to drive them to the hospital.
I love Jessica Williams in the movie, but in that scene especially, where he's like, how far is the nearest hospital? And she's like, I'm not telling you. It's not. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
He's like, can I borrow your car? And she's like, sure, but not for them. And just like all of these, like, fuck. I did want to see, I think, again, something that was cut is she runs after Ben Brandt when he comes in and intimidates Dalton, and
they don't really explain.
They don't say what happened at the end of that scene. Yeah. They just show her running after him and shouting at him, and then during the credits, you see something that I think was cut from that sequence of her getting in his window and doing something, but we don't see it, and then she just comes back later on in the night. And
they play off their relationship as more than just he's the mustache twirling bad guy who wants to take her land, to they had some kind of personal relationship is what it seemed like.
They were friends at some point.
Either friends or they had like some hookup or something. They were something more than just this little back and forth they were doing. And I wish they would have, because like you said, she chased after him like, oh, she knows him, and then she says to Dalton is, yeah, he just was trying to take my land. And it's like, well, what the fuck?
And she plays dumb a little too much at times.
Yeah.
Where there seems to be this mystery brewing, and she's just like, oh, yeah, I don't know why he wants my land. And it's like, Yeah. You know. Why are you saying you don't know when you definitely know?
And I'll be honest, like, the original movie, you just have this old guy who is running everything. And he's the one trying to take the land, and it's simple. Here you have the son with the dad in the prison, and you're like, okay, well, who the fuck's the dad? He's this businessman, but why is he in prison?
Yeah.
Like, what is his connection? How does he know Knox? And it's like, you didn't need to introduce that when you could have just, instead of picked this young guy, maybe picked a guy a little older who it's actually him financially behind this, saying, I've made some bad decisions, I'm kind of financially in ruins, instead of this kid's, his dad's in jail and he's his dad's money. And,
yeah, because that's what they say, is that they get on the boat and Mo, who is the dumb henchman, who always says the right thing, and everybody looks.
He's the one who has the broken arm.
I love Mo.
I love him
Mo
so much.
There were so many moments where I was like, "Hey Mo,
yeah,
you really got to get out of here, my dude. Like, this is not where you want to be."
He's the one that tells him the hospital's.
I love the moment when he's like, "Man, I just wanted to ride motorcycles, and you can't really do that in South Florida unless you have a group of guys that you're doing it with." Yeah. And I thought these guys were cool. I didn't know that this was going to be a thing. I like that when they get on the boat, at one point, he's like, Mo's like, oh, this is such a big boat. It's so nice, blah, blah, blah. It must cost a lot of money. And Ben Brandt is like, yeah, it's my dad's, like everything else that I own, including his debts. And I was like, that's interesting. That's really interesting. And then you get to the end of the movie and he's like, I need that money. Like, I need that money. And you're just like, oh, interesting. There does seem to be something else going on in the periphery of all of this. And
Yeah,
so,
I don't know. I mean, I'm interested for you to see the original.
Yeah.
Just so you can get that comparison that you need. Because, like I said, I think you're going to be surprised by some of the scenes that they did really pull.
Yeah.
And that was kind of neat the way they did that.
Yeah. My last note on this is no throat rip. No throat rip.
No throat rip.
No throat rip.
It's like
the most iconic thing about the original.
Yeah.
No throat rip.
No throat rip.
So I'm not going to get into it because
Yeah.
I don't care enough. I haven't seen the original. I don't have stakes in that
I
game.
will give it credit. Something criticism I'm going to have for the last movie we talked about. The original one, you know, I saw it when I was a kid. It's full of boobs. And so I was madly in love with it because of it. In my age now, I'm starting to understand the not necessity
I've seen boobs.
of having nudity when you don't need it.
Yeah.
And so the fact that the only nudity in this is Conor McGregor's butt,
Yeah.
it's like, that was funny for that scene.
Twice. We get to see his butt twice.
Yeah, you can see it twice, but really that first one was...
Yeah, that was
but it's
that
like,
was the meat one.
That's the... Like, that was funny, though. And
Yeah.
that's a necessity for that scene because it really introduces that character where
Yeah.
he's like, I'm naked and I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But it's like... That kind of, I was like, I'm glad they didn't just have gratuitous boobs and all that. Is, you know, if I want boobs, I can go look on the internet now. I don't need to naturally have it
Yeah.
in a narrative of a movie. So I do give them credit for that.
Yeah.